This is what your final project is going to look like. 8 different tree shapes, all arranged very neatly onto your paper. And to get them neatly onto your paper, what you should do is first take your paper and fold it in half this way. And then fold it in half this way. And then this way again. Open it up. Flatten it out a little bit. And you're ready to draw. A nice source of information is Google image search. I found these pictures here by just going to Google and typing in tree shapes, and I got a nice selection of ideas to draw from. You can see some of the ones we're going to draw here. This one, they have pyramid shape, round shape, columnar, weeping, broad, oval. We're going to do vase, and from here we're going to do also, there's another oval, round, spreading, called broad, and we're going to do one called opened also, and weeping. So I'm going to take kind of a few from this page and a few from this page, and we're going to come up with 8 different tree shapes. You don't need any super special art materials for this. You can just use regular pencil like you do your math with. They usually say number 2 on them, and I like to put these extra erasers on the top because these things don't last too long, so you can use that if that's what you got. If you have a special drawing set, I recommend either a 2B, or this says HB, or a B. B's are soft, H's are hard, so if you go with 2H or 4H, that's going to be way too hard. 2B is good. 4B and 6B are going to be a little too soft, so either HB, B, or 2B would be good. And you can use, if you got a regular, pink eraser or white eraser, you can use that. Might come in handy. Or if you have one of these gray dough erasers, the kind you can stretch and pull, that might be helpful too. If you've got one of those, you can use it, but if you don't, that's okay. I'm just going to put those over there. Okay, the first shape we're going to start with is round. So I'm gonna use this to just do some light sketching. I'm going to zoom in a little bit so you can see this better. Okay, and I'm going to write round, and we're going to start with a very, very light round shape. Now, this is kind of the classic tree, when you're like 4 years old and you want to draw a tree, you draw a ball with a stick. Okay, so it might seem like that's what we're going to draw, but we're going to be a little fancier than that with both the ball and the stick. But we are going to start out with a kind of round shape. Now, this line should be really, really light because this isn't your final line. This is just kind of a guideline, just to kind of give you a general impression of where things are going. Okay, and then the trunk will kind of come down here a little bit. Like I said, we're going to do something kind of fancy with it in a minute. Let's see. I think I'm going to stay with this to do the top. Now we're going to draw some funny leaf shapes around the outside here. How trees they look kind of leafy and raggy around the edges. I'm not looking at any picture or anything. I'm just kind of enjoying being creative in and out. You can make your tree look like whatever. Maybe it has a little section where it kind of jolts in a little bit and come down here. You don't want to make it perfectly round, just round-ish. Okay, and then let's see. Let's make the trunk here. Now you'll see most of the time, like on this round tree, you notice how the trunk isn't just a stick. Here you can really see this one. You can see these branches coming off, and that's what we're going to do to our round tree. I'll zoom in just a little bit tighter here. Okay, and let's see. I'm going to make a branch going off like this to this side, and I'm going to erase that little thing right there. So this will be supporting this bunch of leaves here. Okay, and Maybe one going up through there. And it's got a branch coming off like that too. Okay. So that's where my trunk is going to go. Now the next thing I want to do is I want to make my top look three-dimensional. That looks pretty flat, right? And we want this to look a little more real than that. So what I want you to imagine is a tree is sort of like a round ball, right? It's like a big giant green fluffy cotton ball or something. So we want to make it look round. So before I draw any leaves, I'm not drawing in leaves. What I want to do is I want to make this round, like pretend that this is just a ball. What would I do if I was just shading a ball? Now I'm imagining the sun is coming through kind of there, and it's coming down, lighting up the top of the tree and this side of the tree. So the side opposite and the bottoms of things, since the sun usually shines down from the sky, the bottoms of things are darker and the side against the light. Now I was using a 2B. I'll switch to a B and see maybe how that is. Okay, so all I've done here is make it look round, right? Okay, now I can go back in and add some leaf texture. And what I want to show you is picture the tree. Let's look at this picture here for a minute and see how there's these dark spots, right, that come in. We have a clump, and underneath the clump, see, it's light up here and dark down here, light up here and dark. At the bottom of the clump, light here, dark here, light here, dark under here. So we're just going to kind of put these dark patches in, and we're just going to kind of fake it. We're not going to like this. I'm not going to look at that picture, and I'm just going to kind of imagine now the bottom of a clump. You don't even have to have a really good vivid imagination for where the clumps are. You just kind of go in and just sort of make some squiggles. Okay, and then of course it gets lighter over here. But it's amazing, just with some little squiggly lines, you know what you can do. Okay, remember, this isn't a portrait of any particular tree. This isn't a drawing for an entry in an art contest. This is simply, we're making a page of tree shapes. So you don't have to worry. Your tree's not perfect or anything. Let's see, let's kind of make it look connected to the ground. Let's give a shadow down here, okay, a little bit, so the tree looks like it's sitting on the ground. You can make a little grass if you want. Okay, now let's do a very similar shape, the oval. All right, oval right here, and we're going to make sort of a round shape, but right, a lot taller. Sometimes oval trees get really, really tall. Okay, now remember, this is light. This isn't my final. I can go in and erase, and like over here, see over here where I left a little bit. You can go back in if you want to, and you can erase. You can easily erase your original lines if you want to. I didn't even bother, but you can do that. Make it real light. Okay, and then usually in oval trees, you see a little bit less of the trunk than you do with the round or the other trees we're going to see. Okay, but let's see. I'm still going to make this a little bit more of an interesting trunk. I'm going to make it branch out a little bit. In fact, I think I might make it branch out over like this. See, with an eraser, you can always change your mind. It's real nice. You can. Okay, so that's how my trunk's going to go. Now I'm going to just sort of imagine top of the tree squiggling around. This is a real fun part of the drawing. Okay, when I come down here, I'm going to come down below my little branches part. Okay, and then the next thing I want to do is I want to make it look round. So I'm going to shade, not worrying about any leaves yet. Just shade the bottom. Let's see, this is a 2B I'm using here. And you notice how I'm using the side of my pencil? It's much easier to do gentle shading like this when you use the side of the pencil. So we're going to shade the side and the bottom. Once again, I'm imagining that the sun's kind of coming from over there. If the sun were coming from over here, I'd have to shade the opposite side of the tree. Okay, so do I have it kind of looking round? Yeah, it's roundish, right? Okay. Now I can go back in and, still with the side of my pencil, create some of those dark spots. And I don't really know where they are. Like I said, I'm just faking it. The person that looks at the drawing will think that I knew, hopefully, exactly where these are, but I'm just kind of fooling the eye a bit. Okay. Some of these little dark areas can be connected and some individual. Okay. There we go. You can always go in and erase the original line if it bothers you. And we'll connect it to the ground here. Make a little shadow so it doesn't look like a floating tree. Alrighty. And now we're ready to move on to our next one. After the oval, let's do the vase. I showed you in this picture here, you can see how it kind of looks like an ice cream cone a little bit, where the cone part is the branches and the leaf is the ice cream. So in this type of tree, you really can see a lot more of the branches. So we're going to have to do some branch drawing. Let's write vase at the top and make our open part of the cone. Like that. Okay, and we're going to draw the branches and the trunk first on this one, since they're such a prominent feature. Now, I'm just making this up. I'm not looking at any picture or anything. I just know that some trees have more than one main branch coming out of the center. Looks more like a clump. Although sometimes they do kind of merge at the bottom into one main trunk. Okay, so something like that. Alright, and then we're going to do the fun leafy part, where we just kind of make up what the outside of the tree might look like. And don't be afraid to go in and around down to below where your branch lines are. Okay, then we're going to make it 3D by shading. Once again, we're going to assume the sun's coming from here, light's coming that way. So the left side and the bottom. Gonna get more shaded. And then just make up some little dark areas here. make it come out a little bit over here and around. You could even make a few leaves maybe trailing off with some of these lower branches or something like that if you want to. Okay. And then make it look like it's sitting on the ground. Okay, now for a really tall and skinny one. This is going to be called Columnar, based on the word column, C-O-L-U-M-N. It looks like column, column, and then nar, add A-R, columnar, which means like a column. And you know what a column is, those big, tall, white cylinders on the front of a Greek temple or something. So big and tall and skinny is what columnar means. So we're going to make a very thin, tall guideline. And on these trees, you don't see so much of the trunk and the stems. On this one, you see a lot of it. But on these columnar, the branches and stems might go that high, but you just don't see a lot of them. The trees cover a lot, so we're going to have kind of a relatively small portion of trunk down here. Okay, so a lot of times too, they have the leaves will kind of be looking like they're going out, kind of roughly up. So I'm going to make mine kind of generally kind of looking like they're lifting upwards a little bit. It's very common. And remember, don't follow your guideline perfectly. It's just a guideline. Okay, and we want the left side and the bottom kind of shaded a little bit darker. You're catching on to the routine by now, I'm sure. That makes it look 3D. And then you can go back in and add your little bits of detail. The detail that you're just making up. Fall drawing was this easy, right? Okay, and then we'll put a little bit of trunk down here. A little bit of shadow, make sure it's attached to the ground. And there we have it. Now let's go down here to our bottom one right underneath the open. Number 5 is going to be what I call sparse. I've seen it called open. Let's see here. In this picture, they call it open. And this, you can see how there's sections where you can't see leaves. Sparse means a few or not a lot. If something is sparsely decorated, it just means it has a few decorations here and there. It's not loaded. So some trees are more sparse even than this one. So when they mean open, it just means there's a lot of areas where you can see the branches showing through. It's not a lot of leaves. So whether you call it open or sparse, either way, I'm going to write open, and I'll put in parentheses sparse. So this could be it's kind of roundish, ovalish, vase-ish. Usually it could be any kind, although sometimes it has a kind of irregular shape because maybe, you know, there just isn't anything. Maybe it would have kind of a very strange irregular shape, something like this. I don't know. So this is more going to be little sections. Maybe you're going to have one here, one here, one here. It's more going to be some little clumps. Okay, and then the trunk and the branches running up will be a major feature. You're going to see them going up through there. So I want to decide where they're going to go. Okay, I'm going to draw in the little and each one of these is going to get shaded on the left and down. Okay, now let's do one that we're going to have to tip the paper like this, I think, because it's not going to fit. Zoom in a little more like this. Okay. This one is called Broad. So I guess I'm just going to go ahead and label B-R-O-A-D. Broad. And it's going to be, it's kind of like an oval this way. Some trees are just much, much wider than they are tall. We think of trees as being taller than they are wide, but that's not true for all trees. Some are, and sometimes they're kind of like this shape, almost like a banana shape, sort of. Okay, and then as you might guess, the branches are going to need to go out like this. And the trunk will be relatively short, as you might guess, on most of them. We might even see some of these branches going up. You might even see the underside of the tree, maybe, on this one. And drawing the leaf outlines is going to kind of make a difference if you're drawing a particular kind of a tree, like a desert tree or something. The outline might look different. It's going to be a very generic broad tree. Don't really know what it is. Maybe something you'd find in a backyard in North America, I don't know. Okay, and you know what to do next. Make it look 3D. Remember to be using the side of your pencil. Alright, and then make those little clumps. These might be kind of broad clumps too, maybe. The tree has like that. And of course, remember, I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm just kind of creating little, not drawing from a picture, it's not a specific tree. You just kind of wiggle your pencil there and hope for the best, and usually it comes out looking okay. And then if this had a shadow, it'd have a very big one, wouldn't it? Put a little grass there. Okay, we're going to finish with two kind of different ones. One shape we have not done anything with, see if I can zoom out just a little here, is the triangle. And we're going to do a tall triangle. This shape, though, they don't call it triangular, they call it pyramidal, because pyramid is, of course, the triangle shape, so it's Pyr, P-Y-R, A pyramidal. Pyramidal means like a pyramid. And of course you see these trees all the time. Christmas trees, some people call them pine trees. Conifer trees, they don't have to look like this, but your kind of average typical pine tree, when you think of a pine tree, right, it's a big tall triangle. So that's going to be our guideline shape. Now sometimes you see the trunk sticking out of the bottom and sometimes you don't. Sometimes they grow, in fact naturally they just grow, the branches grow right to the ground, and usually people have trimmed them off. If you see the bottom, that usually means they've been trimmed. So you can make one with it sticking out the bottom or not. I think I'll just make mine kind of grown to the ground. Now there's a couple different ways the branches can go. Sometimes you see branches that look like, here's the shape. Sometimes the branches can go like this. Sometimes the branches will hang straight down. And sometimes the branches, draw another one, on some pine trees they go up like that. So if you're drawing a particular tree, you'll have to look at it and determine what you want to do. On this one, I'm just going to make these kind of down ones. So my edge shape is going to be kind of like this. You've probably drawn things like this before, haven't you? Usually people drawn some kind of a pine tree before, making Christmas cookies or something. Okay, and then on the bottom, don't forget that it's not just flat in the bottom. The branches continue around the front like that. Okay, and then these will be kind of like in rings. Don't forget that this is, the branches go not just out like this, but like this and this and this in a circle. So some of the branches are going to be sticking out towards you, which is kind of hard to draw, but if you want to kind of imagine these rings of branches. So as we start up, the shadows are going to occur underneath these little layers, right? They're going to be where it goes up under, like that. And of course, once again, I forgot, if you would like to make it overall on one side, you can do that to begin with. There we go. But it's going to be a pattern of shading underneath like this. It's kind of different from the other trees, isn't it? Fortunately, these are just little quickie sketches. If you really, really want to make a portrait of a tree, you're going to have to go look at one. And I'm going to make this really dark in here, a shadow, so it looks like the tree is sitting on the ground, really in place. You see how that helps look like the tree is really sitting there. Okay, and then go back up here and just finish. See if I can, the side of the pencil will work for this. Okay. So there's a rough little sketch of pyramidal. And the last one we want to do is called weeping. Now you've probably seen a weeping willow. There's other trees that have this shape though as well, such as a mulberry tree. And these trees are, I'll show you that one. Ones where they have long branches. It's like they have long hair that droops down. And this is very difficult. This is the most difficult shape that we're going to do. Let's write weeping. This really is what it's called, after the weeping willow. This last tree shape is definitely the most difficult. It's the weeping shape, where it's kind of roundish, but the main characteristic is that it has these big, long, droopy branches. You've probably seen a weeping willow, but there's other trees that have that shape, such as the mulberry tree and some other kind of ornamental fruit trees. Sometimes people clip them off, so our shape's going to come and go like this. Sometimes you'll see people trim them so it kind of looks like a semicircle, but let's write weeping and make our basic shape kind of like this. And then sometimes you'll see a little bit of trunk sticking out of the bottom. Sometimes the long weeping branches will just about cover the whole trunk. But like I said, sometimes people will like trim them off, cut them so that you can see. So ours isn't going to be trimmed off. Ours is just going to be fully droopy. So let me show you the little sketch I did before. This is kind of what we're heading for, something like that. It's going to be great, but it'll be okay. Alright, so we want to try to make these patches. Instead of having like round clumps we imagined in our other trees, kind of clumpy that way. Well, these clumps are going to be like chunks of hair almost. So one there. And if you have trouble with this one, don't worry about it, because I have trouble with it too. Okay. Now the shadowy parts are going to be kind of where the clumps meet the bottom of the clumps, like that. So that the top of the clump, where it kind of sticks out, is going to catch the light. You can even sort of make your strokes go backwards, like that. Maybe that might help. And we'll just cover over this trunk here. We'll just get another chunk in there. It's almost like kind of hair sprouting out the top, isn't it? Kind of a okay, so droopy enough. We'll put the trunk showing out the bottom a little bit. Nice big shadow underneath. Sometimes they even reach the ground, but